Hey, Amy,
Yeah, Juan.
give me that beat.
It's Baseball Shangri-La with Amie Cuevas and Juan Ramirez.
What's up, party people? She's Amy Cuevas. I'm Juan Ramirez. You are listening or watching Baseball Shangri-La. If you are listening to us on the audio portion of the show, please make sure you're subscribed to the podcast. Rate us, write us a review, help spread the word about the show. If you're watching us on YouTube, make sure you're subscribed to our YouTube channel. Hit that notification button. Give us a thumbs up. Leave us your comments. We love engaging with you. And most importantly, make sure you're following us on social media on X at BB Shangri-La, on Instagram, YouTube, and Blue Sky at Baseball Shangri-La. Amy, ¿cómo estás?
Hi. Before we even start, for anybody who might be coming to our show and may not be as baseball minded, my shirt says Geeke, not anything else. There is an accent over the E. I realized this as I
Yes.
put this on for the show. I was like, wow, maybe not the best choice. Ah,
Um,
well.
I'm glad you went ahead and did that. Amy, when we last left our wonderful audience, it was the beginning of the World Series. I think we have some breaking news, right?
Yes. Oh my gosh. So Shohei won the NLCS MVP and he gave the award to everybody and said team effort. Was that it? Was that the news?
No, I think there was another bit of breaking news.
Oh man, hold on, let me check my notes. Oh my god, we won the World Series.
That's right.
Sorry, I buried the lead.
The Dodgers won the World Series. So this episode in particular, we're going to focus on that 7-game insane series. Amy and I did attend the rally, the World Series. I don't even know what the official name of this
They were
is.
calling it a championship rally.
Okay. So Amy and I were at the championship rally that was at the stadium. I chose not to do the parade. I did the parade
You
last year.
did it last year. I feel like you got best of both worlds.
Yeah, I did the parade last year with my daughter, and both my daughter and I were like, yes, we don't need to ever do that again. Thinking, hey, maybe it might be another 40 years before we do another parade. But guess what? It was a year later. And so, uh, thanks to a certain angel out there who was able to get us tickets to the stadium rally, bless that angel, whoever she may be or he may be. Um, that angel is the
I am not
best.
a he.
That is the best. I'm trying to keep it a secret. I don't want the word to get out, and then that person's going to get hit up, So I'm trying to protect the identity of this angel who
Oh,
truly is
okay.
an angel. Um, so we're going to talk about that celebration on next week's episode. This week's episode, we're really just going to focus on the World Series,
We
but
want to keep you coming back. And also, I mean, we can talk. So
yeah.
there's just not going to be enough time.
Exactly. But before we get into the breakdown of the World Series, I do want to address one of the comments on that we got on our last episode on the comments corner. And by the way, the last episode again did great. Our last episode was our highest rated in terms of views. So again, a big thank you to our audience for helping us grow this show. That's great. Amy, is there anything you want to address before I go into that comment?
Honestly, I think we had so many people reach out before the end of the World Series that were stressed out and worried, and then you had a lot of people who were sharing photos of their World Series TVs on their like driveway while trick or treaters were coming, and then people who were relieved afterwards. I honestly like I tried to get back to everybody who reached out. Like just thank you to all of you. Like it is so nice to have a community of people that where we can share baseball and our love of that. So without having to call everybody out individually, just we see you.
We see you. So just a quick update before we go into the comments, because today is November 5th. It's a new month. I just want to give everybody an update that for the month of October,
Wait,
31.
this sounds like we're trying to celebrate every level of the playoffs almost.
Well, it's a personal playoff for me because
I don't
new
we don't want to celebrate all that, do we?
Yeah, we do. Yeah, we
Oh,
do.
also somebody's changing their mind on celebrations.
No, I'm just not
Got it.
pouring.
Okay.
I'm not
Okay.
pouring champagne on myself. I just want to let
Mhm.
everybody know, inquiring minds, n-
There
October had
there are people
31 days
inquiring?
in it. Yes, 31 days in the month of October, and this guy got to watch 31 movies in
Were they
30.
all baseball related?
They were not all baseball. This is
Okay.
a combination of movies that I watch at home or at the movie theater. On October 1st, I watched the Alfred Hitchcock classic, North by Northwest. And on Halloween night, I saw the classic Halloween movie, aka Charlie Sheen documentary on Netflix. So,
Okay.
and then to some people that may have been horrifying, but
Okay. Well,
31, my streak is still alive in
get
consecutive
ready,
months.
guys, for his movie podcast that will be coming out soon.
That's right. So I'll break it down there. So one of the comments that I want to address is from my tocayo, Juan. He wanted to get our opinions because we didn't get a chance to actually get into this on the last episode. And that was Milwaukee Karen, Brewers Karen. Do you remember Brewers Karen,
I do.
Amy?
Yeah.
So the only thing that I want to say about Brewers Karen is we do have all these Karens that seem to. I saw some Halloween costumes of people dressed up as Phillies Karen. So it's almost like every team now has their own Karen. But in particular, and for those who don't know what I'm talking about, there was a fan in Milwaukee after Game 2 that made a comment towards a Dodger fan and said that she was going to call ICE. And it is just unfortunate that this has become a thing now, right? That you can use the term "I'm going to call ICE" as something derogatory towards someone. And I have to. The rumor is that this woman had to step down from some board that she was on, and I don't know if it's confirmed that she actually lost her job, but I have to commend the Dodger fan who said he didn't want this woman to lose her job or anything like that. So there is, I believe, some grace in this world, Amy, where a fan acknowledged that something kind of nasty was said to them, and instead of going back at her in a very aggressive way, that fan showed, I guess, I don't know what the right mercy, and was just like, look, she messed up. She said something she shouldn't have said. I don't think she should lose her job for all of that. And so it is unfortunate. I do think it's one of those things that people in the Latino community have to deal with. For those of you who maybe think this is not an issue, Amy, what were any thoughts, opinions on Brewers Karen?
Honestly, I didn't prepare to talk about that today because I thought we were focused fully on World Series. That's all I have notes on. So, I mean, yeah, it people be good humans. Like that's the bottom line. Like we say it so much on the show. Just be good humans.
That's right. Be good humans. Well, let's get into the World Series because that was a comment from our last episode. So, Amy, I'm not going to lie to you. I failed you. I know that
Never.
I failed you because I know that I have keep telling you how much progress I've made and that I am now one of those people that doesn't get upset, that it doesn't let the Dodgers get to me, and that I can calmly watch the games and not be bothered.
So did you
Amy,
have to have a blood pressure cuff on? Did you have a nurse nearby just monitoring your heart rate?
this World Series did a number on me, Amy, and it really made me look at myself in the mirror to be like, I need help.
Really?
I
That's
need help.
because
I
I see, and I had a totally opposite experience. Like this whole World Series, I was just in a state of like wonder and awe and like just gratitude for our team. Like this whole World Series was just amazing.
I know. I was miserable. I was
Really?
miserable.
Oh man.
I was
Well,
taking
at
it
least we
way
balanced out the universe, I guess.
I was taking it way too seriously. I don't know how my wife put up with me, to tell you the truth, Amy. I don't know how my friends put up with me because I was just one of those guys that I got caught up here's what it is, Amy. And that was we had lowered expectations. I didn't expect the Dodgers to get to the World Series this year. I really
Yeah,
didn't.
no,
I'm
we know.
I was the guy who had the Phillies versus the Yankees in the World Series. I had the Dodgers losing to the Phillies in the NLDS. But something happened once they beat the Phillies. I've said this before in the past, and that is I was, I fall for the banana in the tailpipe. And this time I'm like, I'm not gonna fall for the banana in the tailpipe. I'm not gonna fall for the banana in the tailpipe. And what happened was after they got past the Phillies, Amy, I fell for the banana in the tailpipe. I started to believe in this team. I started to think this team, they're
That's to me, that's how you watch baseball, though. That's literally how I watch baseball.
I wish I could watch baseball like you. I wish I had your level of optimism, your level of positivity, but I am just a miserable person, and that's why I need help. Because let me yes, exactly. I am did we determine was it Grumpy Bear?
It
Is
is
that what
Grumpy
his
Bear. Yes,
yeah, his
yes.
official name? I acknowledged it halfway through the series, and it really stood out for me in Game 6 where I was just like, I really need to do something. I thought I had lost this version of Juan. I thought, he's in the past. The new version of me but no, he came back. Old habits die hard, Amy. I
So
was
it's those moments of pressure where you really find out who you are.
Games 4 and 5 broke me. Games 4 and
Really?
5, yeah, they broke
Because to
me.
me, I was like, they're not out. They're still doing some stuff. Because game one, it Snell went in. He was confident. He was ready. You had Shohei hitting, 2-run home runs, and then we had the kind of meltdown in the 6th inning that necessitated that need for the 2-run home run in the 7th. Uh, that one inning was rough. I don't.
But you know what? I was fine after game 1. The
You
only thing
were
that really
okay.
the only thing that really caught my attention after game 1 is when we talked about it on our last show. What were we concerned about? The layoff and the bullpen. And that game 1 to me, those two concerns really
Yeah.
because I do think the layoff impacted it. Well, let me rephrase that. I thought, okay, the layoff impacted the offense. Later on, what I realized is no, the layoff didn't impact the offense. This is once again why Amie is brilliant. Amie had called this from the beginning of this postseason, how concerned she was about this offense. So I thought, okay, the layoff impacted and
And
major
you
leaguers.
lower scoring games, so I'm like, "Oh, that'll work out for you."
Yeah, and then when the bullpen came and did what they did in game 1, I thought, here it is.
Well, to be
This
fair,
is
5 of those runs were credited to Snell, and then Sheehan and Banda gave up 3 apiece. So it wasn't pretty.
no,
That one inning alone, I mean, you hate to see history on the other side where it's like, "Oh, look, it's the first it's the first." I'm trying to see my little annotation here, but it was first pinch hit grand slam in World Series
yes.
history. And it was just like, "Oh, I wish we were on that side of it, but, we were on the receiving end, so there you go."
Yeah, I mean, again, I was fine after game 1. I really did because I
Okay,
chalked
we're
it
gonna
up.
turn the page on game 1. Okay.
Yeah. Unless there's anything is there anything
Oh,
else
no,
that
no,
you
no,
want to
no. I
talk
mean,
about game 1?
no, I just we can move. It was 4-11. It was a rough game. I baked cookies to take to the brewery for that game. I almost baked cookies for game 7, and I was like, "Oh, no, no. We're not doing that again." So,
I
let
mean,
me
I will say this. I do think what came to me, and later on as the series progressed, what became very obvious to me was that I did not give enough credit to this Toronto Blue Jays team.
Really?
Uh,
Oh, see, because to me, I'm like, this is a good team. Like, it's not gonna be I mean, probably not nice to say, but, I kinda wanted to play the Mariners because I felt like we had a better shot against them. Like, Toronto was gonna be a grind, in my opinion.
No, I knew that the Blue Jays were a good team, Amy. I just didn't realize they were that good because going into the World Series, what I had said was good pitching will beat good hitting. And that's why I thought the Dodgers would win. I thought the Dodgers would win
But
in
good
6 games.
pitching, but good pitching though. And Snell, I mean, he even admitted it. Like it was not his best game in game 1. Like that, not great. And then you have the next night we go into game 2 and Yamamoto throws his second complete game of the postseason, and that did put a stop to the Blue Jays. They only scored 1 run in game 2.
And that's
So
why I was feeling fine because after seeing Yamamoto's performance in game 2, I went back to okay, it was the layoff that really impacted them. Now they got 1 game underneath their belt. They're back to playing the way they've been playing in the playoffs where it's just good pitching, shutting down those teams and I mean Yamamoto, let's do it. Let's talk about Yamamoto, Amy.
he's amazing. I mean, like just the fact that he 8 strikeouts, he threw 105 pitches, he went all 9 innings, like that you just don't see pitchers do that these days. Like that has been a lot of the buzz now post World Series is like he is in an era where pitching is like at its probably its worst. You've got him, like he has this routine, he has what he does, and we're not even getting into like the latter part of the series. Just for this 1 game to throw his second complete game in the postseason, amazing. It completely stopped the Blue Jays in their tracks in that game.
I mean, Yamamoto was just he was so impressive, and obviously very worthy of winning the World Series MVP. I'm going to defer to you on this because you are the expert on this, but I heard this name mentioned a lot along Yamamoto's name, and that's Oral Hershiser. And in
He was
particular,
wearing just like he was wearing Yamamoto's jersey at the celebration this year where he wore Bueller's last year. He had on Yamamoto's this year.
um, as great as Yamamoto was in this World Series, I know a lot of people are saying it was Hershiser esque. Go back to that 1988 World Series, ladies and gentlemen, and there are some differences. There are definitely some differences, but the performance that Hershiser did in the 1988 World Series. Now that series only went 5 games, so he doesn't have the same sample size of what Yamamoto did in this World Series. So I think you definitely need to give credit to what Yamamoto did in this World Series because of not only 2 pitching performances, but 3 when you add in Game 7. But like Hershiser was really dominant. Now, obviously,
I think
Yamamoto.
you can compare the 2, but I don't think they have to be exactly the same. I think you can say that they both gave great performances, but like they're still going to be unique on their own merit because one, they're 2 different people, and the games themselves are 2 different situations. So like while they can be similar in accomplishment, they're still going to have unique distinctions between the 2.
Yeah, I did think it was Hershiser esque when I saw Yamamoto pitching. Is what came to mind. That it was the Hershiser run of '88. That I was like, the Dodgers are running this guy, riding this guy because they have to, because the offense that we kept expecting to show up, show up, show up. Amy, they won. I'm still baffled by this stat. They won the World Series hitting 203.
That's see,
If
and I
I
think
told
that's
you the Dodgers hit 203 in the World Series, would you think that they would have won the World Series?
I wouldn't have cared. Like I love stats. This is where like this is like, kind of like your Oral Hershiser thing. Like I think it's great to compare him to it, but I like Yamamoto did what he did independent of Oral Hershiser. Oral Hershiser's amazing. He's one of my favorite players, but this is where like I think we can not dangerous territory, but like if we get too caught up in comparing people and like, oh, it was just like this. How about it's just what Yamamoto did in the series? Like it's amazing for the sake of it being amazing. I love stats. I think that's kind of a cool stat that they did win despite having a batting average of what did you say 203? But at
Yeah.
the same time, like they still won. So like stats can be they can be great metrics, but I don't think that they should dictate our awe or our wonder or our whimsy of the game. And that's where I think we can get too caught up in that. Cause like to me, that's where like I love a good stat. I don't care. They won. Like to me, like there are so many other moments that are just like, but this and this. And it's like, okay, cool. So they had that batting average. They still won. There's always that other side of the statistic or the other side of the percentage where somebody does pull it out.
I think that's a valid point that you just said, but I do think that numbers do help to put things into perspective.
Sure, but
And
not to the detriment, because I like where you can be neutral on it. There are some people that like we're still hearing the arguments of like the better team didn't win. Some people are going to use that metric as a way to back that up. And it's like, okay, but at the end of the day, we all watched a lot of baseball. There were a lot of good plays on both sides. And the team that won game 7 is the one that won the World Series. So,
do you want to get into that right now?
no.
That whole the better team didn't win argument?
Yeah, we can get into that afterwards. I'm just saying metrics and stats are good, but I would say don't get lost in the rabbit hole of them to where it like you can't see the forest for the trees.
Yeah, Yamamoto was just fantastic, and it just once again it reiterated. Now, I'm glad they trusted the eye test and they let him finish that game. I think after
Well, I
seeing
think after game 1,
exactly after seeing the performance of the bullpen in game 1, I know everyone in our household was just like they better not take him out. They better not take him out. They need to. But by the end of game 2, Amie, the Doyers did what they had to do, which was split in Toronto. That's what you wanted. You wanted the split, and then you took back home field advantage. You're going back to LA.
and they only lost 1 game on the road in that whole series.
Well, and that's the other insane stat, Amie, that not only okay, they won the World Series hitting 203, but this was a team that was 1 game above 500 on the road in the regular season. If I would have sit here and told you that a team that was 500 on the road in the regular season and then come the playoffs, they lost 1 game on the road. They won both games in Philadelphia, both games in Milwaukee, and then they win 3 out of 4 in Toronto.
And this
I
is where
did
I would
not
tell
see that
you like
coming. I
don't
didn't see that coming.
that would be my argument for like don't count so much on stats. Like they're fun indicators, but don't use them as a basis for like measuring the future because they're like I said, they're fun, they're cool. But for every stat that's like so and so won, won 9 out of 10 games, there's still that team that won the other game. So it's like that's what makes it so cool.
So I was feeling really good after game 2, heading back to LA. The split 1-1. They had a chance, and I thought it was going to happen. I really did, Amie. I was like, they haven't clinched in Los Angeles a World Series since the 1960s.
I was really hoping, I'm not gonna
Yeah.
lie. Like selfishly, I was hoping I covered all of the home games and like I wanted to see them win at home.
Yeah,
And
so did
then
I.
pause. Let's just take a 5-second pause for that 18 inning game
All right.
that we all got to live through on Monday.
So
Monday into Tuesday.
let's go into that 18 inning game. First of all, you were there for all 18 innings, correct?
I was. Yeah, I got there at I think noon that day.
What time did you end up leaving the stadium that night?
I got home at 2 a.m.
Wow. It is
I
crazy.
spent
Amie.
more time at the stadium than I did in my bed, waking up to go back the next morning.
Amie, after the 2018 World Series, I never thought that I would see another game like that 18 inning game from that. And sure enough, we got it. And I'm going to say this, Amie. I think this game, this 18 inning game with the Blue Jays, I think was better than that 2018 only because
We
there
had a
was
chance of winning.
well not
Not
that.
winning the game, but like winning the series because they were tired in 2018. Like you could see it through that whole series.
Yeah, and I also think the difference is the Red Sox were clearly the better team in 2018. But this game in game 3, the defensive plays that were being done to keep this game tied, and that's why you kept going in after inning and after inning. That's why, to me, I thought it was more enjoyable. It wasn't like, and I guess maybe there was a little bit of offensive ineptitude, and that's why it ended up going 18 innings. But
But it was on both sides, because it even started like the pickoff in the second inning for Toronto. Like you had plays like the fourth inning, like Kike made a spectacular catch on a flyout. You got Freddie do it like an unassisted like grounder. You've got, I think it was, I'm looking at my numbers here. I have a 6-4-3. So you've got Mookie at second base, throwing out to Freddie at first, and just like some of these plays, Max Muncy with the throw to first in the eighth inning, like all this stuff is going on, and you're at least seeing, you know, better defensive plays. And there's still going to be errors. There's still stuff that happens. Both teams had it throughout the series, and each time it happened, it was like, oh my God. But to have it go 18 innings, especially with our bullpen, was just, I have no words.
Look, here are some of the takeaways that I got from this series. Everyone knows how great Vladimir Guerrero is as an offensive player. I was very, and this is, I'm guilty of this. I'm a prisoner of the moment. I don't watch the Azulejos. I really don't watch American League Baseball. I'm very focused on watching the Doyers every day. I was unaware of how good defensively Vladimir Guerrero was
He's
in this series.
amazing.
And this could be, maybe he was just great in this series because I don't watch him every day. He may be an average defensive first baseman, but had a great defensive series, or he may be a great defensive first baseman, and I just never gave him the credit because his offense just overpowers or dominates the storyline over his defense. But some of the plays that he did throughout this entire series, I was just so impressed by Vladimir Guerrero. Not only that, I mean, offensively, I wanted the Doyers to give him the Shohei treatment. I wanted him walked all the time, and that just goes to show you that I know nothing about baseball, because there were times where they pitched to him and they beat him. They
Mhm.
beat him, and so
Which is what was so puzzling in that series, or in that series. That one game felt like a whole series in and of itself. But just the historic 4 intentional walks for Shohei, like that was like they made history with that. And that was part of the post-game like breakdown afterwards. But like some of my comments to people that I was near was like, with the way that Shohei's been playing, like you almost stand a better chance not putting him on base and letting him either, try to swing for it. But I'm like, but if you want to give us a base for free, then, thank you.
no, to me, I have no problem. I know fans didn't like the strategy because they want to
Oh,
see Shohei
I didn't
Shohei
like
hit.
it. To me, I think there should be, now this is just me, when I rewrite the rule book. I think there should be a limit on how many times you can intentionally walk somebody, because I mean, obviously you're not going to have like an 18 inning game on a regular basis, but even in a 9 inning game, like if we're just going to walk the other guy, like you need to have more athletic prowess to be able to get him out than to just walk him every time. Because to me, I'm sorry, that's BS. I call BS on it. I think it's dumb. If people can disagree, and that's fine, we can all have our take. I get that it's a strategy. I think it's a dumb strategy.
I'm one of those people that disagrees with that. I'm also one of those people that doesn't feel like, I hate the rule that they limit the number of times that you can throw to first base.
I don't like that rule either.
So when we change certain rules, and I'm just like, I don't have a problem with them walking him every single time. And the reason why, look, that strategy worked.
Be good enough to get him out.
But we talked about this, and that was Shohei. To me, something clicked for him in this World Series, and I think a lot of it was he was not facing those left-handed pitchers from the Phillies anymore. He was facing, and look, he was killing them. He was clean, and you got to give Schneider credit of the Azulejos. I feel like, as much as I know that he made some mistakes in this series that are worthy of criticism, but for the most part, I thought he managed with urgency. And he seeing how that Dodgers offense was struggling and no one else, and again, we'll talk about it later in the series because I think Dave Roberts deserves the kudos for the adjustments that he made in this series. But I thought Schneider was doing the best in terms of putting his team in a position to win. And once he did that, it was like, okay, someone else in that Dodgers lineup needs to prove to me that you guys can beat us because we can already see that Shohei is beating us. Do you know that I had my friends who had no fight, no dog in this fight? My friends in Chicago were texting me after Shohei hit the second home run, and they're like, why do they keep pitching to him? Why do they keep? And it was like he finally got the memo. It's like, all right, I'm not going to let Shohei beat me. It's going to have to be somebody else in that Dodgers lineup. And I don't have a problem with that strategy because it is up to someone else in that Dodgers lineup to stand up, and it can't be all on Shohei.
No, I don't think it should be all on Shohei, but I don't think taking the bat out of somebody's hand is like, I don't know. To me, that's just not. I get that it's allowed, but to me, it just seems like shoddy gamesmanship. I don't like it.
What else do you have from game 3?
Sorry, it took up 2 pages in my scorebook, so I have to keep flipping back and forth. It just, I think those innings where we started bringing other pitchers in, like nobody knew obviously it was going to go that long, and that was something that even I think they asked in a lot of the post game questions to like the management and whatnot, and Dave was like, I don't plan to pitch for an 18 inning game. Like we're gonna play what we play. Like I'm not gonna plan this way all the way through. So like you saw them using a lot of their people right away, not realizing it's okay, it's going to go to the 10th inning, the 11th, the 12th, and then by the time it started like actually like adding up, it was like, oh my god, who do we have left? And the fact that I think they stayed scoreless until, let's see, who gave up the run? I think it was Trinan that gave up the last one. And the people that I was around, it was just like, oh man, like poor guy, because of course. But then you kind of make it through some of the other stuff. So you're bringing Trinan in. You got Dreyer who puts up a bunch of zeros. Sasaki comes in. He walks 2. So we flip it over to Sheehan. And then you've got Clayton Kershaw coming in to throw a batter out. And then Henriquez comes in and it's like, well, gosh, who's left? And then you've got Will Klein, who some people are like, who's Will Klein? He comes in and carries 4 innings. He's a reliever. That guy threw 72 pitches. And as he went through and like kept it scoreless, each inning that he came out, you could see him starting to get gassed. But that guy, like, he held it down to the point that like Yamamoto was going to have to come in the 19th inning. He saved Yamamoto from having to come in too soon so that we could use him later on. And just the smile on his face afterwards. Like, I'm sure everybody saw the post game where Will's there and like people are asking him questions and that guy's still grinning. Like, it just, like, what a great guy.
I would probably have to say that aside from Yamamoto, I think Will Klein is probably the second best feel-good story of that World Series.
If you don't have Will Klein, we don't make it to Game 7.
That performance in Game 3 is just one of those things that has no explanation. I mean, you had a bullpen that was beleaguered, that you knew nobody believed in, and for them to throw as many shutout innings as they did in that game, leading up to Federico Freeman again hitting another game winning, and we'll get into the Federico game winning home run. But Amie, I like I said, I love that for Will Klein. I love the reaction that he got, the love that he got from his teammates at the end of that game.
Nobody will ever say, who's Will Klein again.
He was one of the first people out of that dugout when Federico hit the home run. But I will say this, Amie, I was petrified when they brought in Kershaw. I was saying to my wife, I was like, why are they doing this to Kershaw? I was just so afraid that he was going to give up the run and they were going to lose that game. And you were going to hear this damn narrative again that Kershaw can't pitch in the playoffs. So I was just so bummed. I was so sad. So when he ended up getting out of that inning, and by the way, he got some help from Lucas, swinging at some pitches that he shouldn't have. But again, we don't know what he was seeing as the pitches were coming across the plate. And look, he had 2 strikes on him, so he was protecting the plate. But I am so glad that Kershaw was able to have that moment. It was his only appearance in the World Series. It was at Dodger Stadium, and that will be his last appearance at Dodger Stadium. And for him to be able to say that he got a huge out to have that game continue. So you see the heroics of not only Will Klein, but you see the heroics of Federico.
It just like it defies this, and this is where like all of the whimsy and everything come in, because while every inning you didn't want the Blue Jays to score, but then also the Dodgers didn't score, so then it was like the groans of like, oh, here we go, another inning. And then you go through it all over again, and it's like, all right, they limited damage, nothing happened, and then our guys like couldn't get anything kind of going, and so like you get to the end of the 18th inning, and or not the end, but you get to the 18th inning, the bottom of it, and then Freddie comes out and he hits a walk-off home run. And OptaStats has they posted that only one player has done both of the following in his career, regular or postseason: hit a walk-off grand slam with his team down to its last out, and hit a walk-off home run in the 18th inning or later. And that one player is Freddie Freeman. Both came in the World Series. Like,
Yeah. I mean, Federico did not have a good postseason, but he's got that moment. He's got that moment that he's going to be able to live with forever. And
well, offensively, none of them really had the offseason that they wanted, but they all stepped up when they needed to.
there were guys that I feel were swinging the bat well, and maybe the numbers weren't. I mean, you looked at the Azulejos, and in particular, you had the series that Clement had for the Azulejos, setting the postseason record for most hits in a postseason. I thought the Barger was another. I mean, Barger ended up hitting 480 for the series. Clement ended up hitting 387 for the series. George Springer, I know we don't like George Springer, but George
We do
Springer
not.
hit 381 for the series. So nobody on the Doyers had those averages that the Azulejos had, right?
And yet they still won.
But they had big moments, and there was no bigger moment for Federico than that home run. And earlier in that game, there were some swings where you were starting to see he was hitting the ball hard. Now, one of the things that was driving me crazy in that game, Amy, because the famous marine layer that everybody talks about at Dodger Stadium, and I thought Nomar Garciaparra did a great job of breaking this down on Spectrum Sportsnet, and that is the loop that the majority of the Dodger players have in their swing. And obviously that creates the lift. And that's why we kept seeing so many pop-ups, so many fly balls. And you see what the Azulejos do, and they have a more level swing, and they had those line drives. And that's why it felt like for me, it felt like every inning they had the bases loaded. And I'm like, man, these guys just don't let up. They don't let up. So for them to win that game 18, they take a 2-1 lead. Amy, I was really feeling myself. If you don't have anything else to add about game 3, we can go into the games that broke me.
No, other than it just being, second to 2018. Like, of course, we have to break the world season, most innings
Series.
ever twice,
Yeah.
But 18 innings both times.
Exactly. The only the only team to do it, and they do it twice. The only stadium that's ever had a 18-inning game is Dodger Stadium, and they've done it twice.
At least this one was only 6 hours and 39 minutes, because I had to stop and I went and stretched on the floor, because it was just like, oh my God, we've been here for forever. And then just like, all right, get back up. All right, we're in it. All right, let's go.
All right, let's go into the games that broke me, and those were games 4 and 5. For me, game 4, Amy, I clearly chalk up that loss, and it wasn't pretty. because the offense just disappeared. Shohei, I thought, pitched okay. He at the end he ran out of gas, and the bullpen ended up doing what they did in game one. But for me, Amy, I really felt that that team was tired in game four. They looked and it felt flat to me. And I was like, ooh,
They
that
just played
18 inning
18
game.
innings. Yeah.
I feel like that took more out of the Dodgers though than it took out of the Azulejos, and I think the perception was that it would have impacted the Azulejos more because they lost the game. But again, kudos to that team that showed their intestinal fortitude that after a devastating loss of an 18 inning game in the World Series, they showed up the next day like nothing had happened, and they were ready to play. And again, I can't tell you how impressed I was with this Azulejos team, in particular offensively. I loved watching them play.
Keep in mind too, they're a younger team. Like we have a lot more players that are in their 30s or mid 30s. So while yes, they are all professionals and it shouldn't impact you, I I'm not gonna like that. I didn't even play in the game. I wasn't even there as long as the players. And like I was running on fumes. The fact that these guys had to perform and not only like show, hey, yes, he's a DH, but there a lot goes into his performances, and then he has to pitch the next day and hit. To me, like I wasn't shocked at the outcome of the game. I was more shocked by people saying like, well, it didn't affect the Blue Jays, and it's like, okay, but everybody reacts to things differently. Like this is just how the game shook out, and you obviously you would want them to bounce back and win, but the Blue Jays took that game, and I mean they were only down by one for a while until that seventh inning, and then you know 4 runs scored, and that's when the game kind of changed. I don't want to say it was out of hand, but with the offense hitting the way that it was or not hitting, it's a little bit harder to come back when 4 runs score in 1 inning.
You got anything else on game four?
um no, I did that. Nothing else. You're just that broke you.
No, what broke me was game five. Game five was the one that broke me. So if there isn't anything else you want to
I have
for
I
game
have
four,
I have turned the page.
I'm going to go into game five. Again, I was starting to see something with this Blue Jays lineup in terms of how relentless they were. I love their approach. And then, so when the first two batters in game five took Blake Snell deep, like Amy, I was convinced that Blake Snell was going to bounce back, and
He thought he was too.
he was going to be dominant. He was going to look like the Blake Snell we saw in Milwaukee. I firmly believed that that was what was going to happen. And so when they took him deep, and again, all the baseball people were telling me Blake Snell didn't have his fastball control in the first game. So clearly, what was going to happen in game five was he was going to look to establish that fastball. So, as much as I'm sitting here saying, man, the Azulejos did a great job of scouting the Dodgers, my hat's off to them. They were like, Juan, it's really not that hard to scout when a guy didn't have his fastball the first time you saw him. He's going to try to establish the fastball the second time you see him. So those guys went up there looking for a fastball, and guess what? They got a fastball and they jumped all over Blake Snell. So when that happened, and then I saw once again the offense just not able to muster anything. And I'm gonna do this and say,
Which is so you're like just our different views on the game. Like I was not thrilled that he gave up those 2 home runs back to back, 3 pitches in. But then it was like, all right, well, it's over. That's all we're gonna give him, hopefully. And then it was like, well, at least he didn't overthrow pitches in that inning. Like, we'll take the positive where we can get it.
again, I wish I could be like you. You know what? And Trey, I got to tip my hat to Trey Savage. He pitched a hell of a game, and there was nothing the Dodgers were going to be able to do against Savage. I mean,
He
even
had
if
their number. Like he was so good in that game.
he was great. So That's
And
when my
for reference, that was the 8th start of his MLB career. So
yeah.
he's still a rookie. That was his 5th postseason game, and it was his first start on the road.
So in that game, after I saw that the Dodgers offensively weren't able to muster anything,
Well, they were swinging at everything. That was the problem.
and I was just like, that's when my melancholia kicked in, and it started to feel to me like the 2018 World Series. It started to feel like to me we're just playing a team that's better. The Dodgers offense, while we're sitting here waiting for the Dodgers offense to show up, it doesn't look like they're coming. They're not going to show up. And just again, I was like,
It's not for
I
a
did
lack of trying. Like they were trying to figure it out.
well, and that's why my melancholia kicked in, Amy, because I was just like, you can try all you want, and if you just can't do it, you can't do it. And that's why it was so frustrating to watch. Going, oh man, these guys,
But
they
they couldn't
can't
do
get
it
it.
that day. And like that, I guess that kind of for me is like the reminder of like that day. But it's not over till the last out, and it's not even just the last out in that game, it's the last out in the World Series. And I'm not fast forwarding yet cuz we're still talking about game 5, but like that is literally how game 6 and 7 played out. It's not over till the last out. You are not out until you're out.
Well, I thought it was over at that point, and that's why my melancholy.
Wow.
Yeah, in Game 5, the
We need to
way
put some flowers and stuff in your brain. We need to spruce up there.
because I thought the offense was dead. I was just like, the only way these guys are going to be able to win is if they throw a shutout, because just offensively, and you
See, and I
heard it
think
on
they
the
play better
broadcast.
with their backs against the wall. I'm like, this is when the dog is gonna come out. Like this is they are so much more scrappy than people give them credit for. Did I want them to lose game 4 and 5? Absolutely not. But with their back against the wall, they have proved time and again that they can come back from that, whether it's last year, whether it's this year. So it was just like, all right, I'm just gonna wait and see how this plays out.
Yeah, and this is where you guys can call me. I'm not a real fan because I don't have the blind optimism that the majority of the people
You
have.
don't that's how you fan, and I don't think you should get called out for that. Whoever these people calling you out are, I just for your own mental health, I think like if we could shift your mindset, I think that would just help you in the long run. But if you want to watch games like this, like you get to decide how you want to watch games.
I was so bummed, Amy. I thought for sure it was over. I
Even though we
really
had 2 more opportunities potentially.
I just thought there was this offense is not coming. It's not coming because look, and maybe it was because Joe Davis was constantly saying it in my ear
Well,
that
he's with Fox, he has to be a little less dodgery.
we've seen this offense, this Dodger offense disappear, and he was referencing that stretch over the summer where the offense was just brutal. And again, it's one of those things where I started over analyzing everything in
Oh,
my head
no, because
because
that
I'm
same
like,
offense still managed to lead the NL West for the majority of the season.
right, but I was over analyzing the fact that it was like when I hear former major leaguers say, when you have a long break, the thing that has a hard time coming back is your offense. Your pitching can stay hot, but your offense is the one that could get cooled off. And you know what else I thought of? I thought of, and I forget what year this is, when the Colorado Rockies went on this magical run and they ended up playing the Red Sox in the World Series. And I think it might have been the year that the Red Sox came back. No, maybe it wasn't when they came back to beat the Yankees. But the Red Sox had to play long series, so they had to keep playing. And the Rockies had swept the NLCS, and they had a huge gap before the World Series started. And the Rockies were red hot, but there was a lot of time, and they cooled off, and they got swept in the World Series 4 games straight. So I can see how, the Dodgers were playing really well for about a month. They had what was it? They were 26-4 or something in that stretch. And I was like, eventually those stretches come to an end. It happened with
And
the
this is why
Cerveceros.
we need to like have you not rely on some of these stats quite so much and just live in the moment. Because I
And
think you'll be better off that way. Because yes, all of those things do exist. And yes, they did happen. But did any of them dictate how this series played out? Not
No, but
really.
that's the problem. And this is why I look, I'm not proud of it. I told you all the progress I made throughout the season was completely lost. I fell for the banana in the tailpipe. I thought they were going to win the World Series, and that moment in game 5, I was just like, I can't believe I allowed myself to get hurt.
So
I can't believe I
next
allowed myself to
season,
love again is what I'm
my
saying.
okay. Well, next season, your homework when these things happen is you don't have to keep score like I do, but I want you to find some positives in the game because I think that's not going to change the outcome. They still lost, but there were still like just to see the fight in the team. Like you had Blake Snell push himself. Like that was the most pitches I think he's thrown this year, 116. You could see he had no gas in the tank, but he was trying to at least extend himself as much as he could before we had to bring in the bullpen. And it's things like that. And yeah, that's not necessarily going to win a game, but it might win a series is that fight, this team pulling for each other. And when I get bummed out about games, those are the things I fall back on because watching him fight, like it was you that whole broadcast, all we heard about was you Savage making history and oh gosh, he's just got all these notches on his belt from all these strikeouts, but our team was fighting too and it's like that's where like maybe that's me just being stubborn like, oh, I'm going to find the positives on our side too because Blake Snell did not throw the game that he wanted, but he still fought for that team. And every guy that came in afterwards managed to hold it down. Bonda did give up a run, but I mean, they tried.
You're absolutely right. I do think after that, well, the way that game started for Snell to give them the length that he did and able to still keep them in the game, he definitely deserves Flores for that. But again, it was just the fact that this offense was just, and again, a lot of it, Trey Savage had a lot to do with that. But I just thought, we've been sitting here. It is now 5 games and we're waiting for this vaunted Dodger offense to show up, and they're just not showing up. Do you have anything else in Game 5 before we move to Game 6?
Kike Hernandez scored the only run in that game with his home run.
Yes, he did. He definitely did.
Now let's go to the next. These 2 games were
Yes.
like the epitome of baseball to me. Like I could live for like 2 months in these 2 games, just like tearing them apart day after day. Like God, they're just so amazing.
I think the game 6 and 7 is what is going to define this World Series. I think when you talk about this World Series, I think people are going to be talking. The majority of the moments of this World Series, I think, are going to be coming from game 6 and 7. Obviously, there's the 18 inning game, which was fantastic, but the stuff that went down in both games 6 and 7 to me was just absolutely insane. And I
And
just
we
want to
and we saw more changes because Mookie Betts hit third in game 5. And then in game 6 is when they made the big shakeup of the roster. And Mookie Betts hit fourth. He was cleanup. And that was the first time in 8 years that he's hit there. And we had, some of the media quotes where he was quoted as saying, like, it's just been terrible. I've just been terrible. And like you hate to hear a player have to say that in a media scrum. Like I understand he feels that way, but like he's still like he's a high caliber athlete. And I think shaking up the lineup helped. Having Will Smith hit second, I think it was a good change in how they were approaching the last 2 games.
Yes, I do think that was a good change because even though he may not have had the numbers to support it, I feel that he was the one that consistently was swinging the bat the best. I mean, there's clearly
The whole
it was
season.
Shohei. I
Yeah.
think clearly it was Shohei who had the best series offensively for the Doyers, but in terms of the quality of at bats and the contact that he was making, I feel like Will Smith was the one consistently. So moving him into the second spot absolutely made sense to me. Now, before we go further into this game 6, this is the game that was played on Halloween. I just want to share with everybody where I watched this game. Now, this is an elimination game. Okay. This is the Dodgers could get eliminated in this game. I went to go see this game in East LA because there is a family in East LA that projects the game from their house onto the East LA water tank. and everybody in the neighborhood comes out and they're watching the game being projected on the water tank. It's like a giant screen. And I had such a great experience because I was watching with total strangers. And this is where the bond comes, right? The only thing we have in common is our love of baseball and our love of the Doyers. And even though we're complete strangers, we don't know each other. It's fascinating to me, Amy, how easily I can give a high five or hug them when there are people that I'm closer to, that I've had known longer, that I don't give hugs to. But for some reason, that's sporting environment. So we're watching this game
But that's
as
that's the community that I think that's what I love about this game. That's why I fight so hard against like gatekeeping and things like that, because this is the only thing that it doesn't matter how much you make. It doesn't matter what you believe in, your religion, your politics, whatever. When Freddie Freeman hits a walk-off, you immediately turn to whoever's around you. You don't know them and you're going to give them high fives. You might even hug them like you said. Or it's just the fact that we can speak in this language. Like my cousin doesn't know as much about baseball. She watches a lot of it. Her sons play. She has a lot of my like older like t-shirts that I like. I have too many baseball t-shirts. So she was wearing a Mookie Slaps shirt the other day, and she was at I think one of the stores, and some guy kind of walked by and looked at her, and then walked by and looked at her again, and then he was like, so how do you think we're gonna do tonight? And she's like, she's like, I don't know where it came from. She's like, but I was like, oh, I think we'll do good. They just shook up the lineup and whatever. And she made this comment, and she's like, I don't know why I said it. And the guy answered her back, and they just had this really cool interaction. And it's like, that's what I love about baseball. It's its own language. Like you just talked to a perfect stranger, and you walked away smiling, both of you. Like that's just, it's beautiful.
And yeah, and what added to it was people were trick or treating at this time. So you had people in costumes that would walk by and they would stop to watch the game. You had people in cars that were driving through the neighborhood and would look over and see that the game was being projected, and they would just stop in the middle of the road
You're like,
and
whoa.
watch the game. I loved it.
One
And
of our
this
listeners, Roland, I don't know if he shared with you, he had the TV up in the driveway, so trick or treaters would stop and watch the game, and he had like Dodgers decorations outside too. But like, there were a lot of people that I heard from that had like setups like that. You have the game on while you're still making sure that your children get the experience that they need.
Yeah, so that was just one of the things that I think is going to stand out for me in
Better than
that
watching it
World
on a
Series.
small screen somewhere, right?
Well, I do have a story about that. I was invited for Game 7. Did I tell you the story?
Yes, you did.
Yes. Okay. Uh, so anyway,
We won't shame. We won't
we
screen shame anyone.
we won't. Yeah, exactly. We won't screen shame people, but that move for Mookie Betts paid off because he got that big hit, and this was something that I think the Doyers were struggling with the other series, and I think part of it I need to commend the Azulejos. I feel like the Azulejos did a really good job of limiting the damage for the Doyers, and the Doyers, when they would score, it was always one run. They wouldn't really put up that crooked number the way the Azulejos would do it. The Azulejos, when they scored, it seemed they scored in bunches. But the Doyers finally were able to put an inning together where they got a cricket number when they scored 3 runs in that game. And of course, that was the game that we saw Yamamoto again pitch. And Yamamoto did what Yamamoto did this whole entire postseason. Now, I will say this, Amy, I got real nervous once I started seeing his pitch count tick up. And I'm
Mhm.
like, oh, and I know this is completely unrealistic for him to pitch another, full, complete game. Okay. He's not Sandy Koufax here, right?
This is
But
where people's expectations get a little higher.
because this is one of the things here, Amy,
He's
so
still
far,
human.
yeah, but so far up until this game, I thought this is a strategy that wouldn't work, but it was working. How do you win a World Series avoiding half of your bullpen? Like, I just did not think it could be done. I did not think you can't win when you're avoiding a bullpen. So when I saw
Well,
that
but
Yamamoto's
they did come up with that strategy because as we'll get into game 7, they didn't use their bullpen
yeah,
that game.
exactly. So to me, I was just like, once I saw his pitch count go up, I was like, Oh, and that was to me the key for the Azulejos in terms of how they thought they were going to win this series was to get to the Dodgers pitching between the 6th and the 8th inning, because
Mhm.
that's where it seemed like the Dodgers struggled, and those seemed to be the innings when the Azulejos would make their comeback, take over the game, or put the game out of reach. So when I saw
Which, to be
Yamamoto's
fair,
pitch,
that's what we were trying to do to them too. So, with some
yeah.
of their starters, the strategy was the same on both sides.
So when I saw Yamamoto's pitch count go up, I was like, I don't know how to do it, how they're going to do it. So
Well,
and
and
again,
who did they turn to? Our converted starter, now reliever, maybe closer for this season at least, Roki
it
Sasaki after Robo. Robo's a starter. And then you've got
yes,
Tyler Glasnow, a starter.
I-
Luckily, he
ex-
only threw 3 pitches, but still.
but again, the pressure that was put on those pitchers because the Dodgers had their opportunities offensively to extend that lead, and they couldn't do it. And again, this is the postseason. Those other guys drive nice cars too. It is their job to prevent the Dodgers from scoring, but it could have maybe alleviated a lot of people and avoided that very tense ninth inning of game 6 if the Dodgers were able to score, like when they have a runner in scoring position with one out and they don't score. That to me was just heartbreaking. And so look, as much as we love what Roki did this postseason, he did have his moments where he came down to earth,
He's
and
human
he
too.
exactly he was human, and so in that ninth inning, when it was like Roki's not going to be able to get through the ninth, what are we going to do? And they're bringing in Tyler Glass now. Amy, I don't know.
Wait. So before they bring in Tyler Glasnow, you have the whole ground rule double dead ball situation
Okay,
because that was the last pitch that Sasaki, like, he gave up that hit, but then you've got like the fact that, okay, yeah, they doubled, but you've got the dead ball there. So then it was like, oh, okay, that was in our favor. And where I was watching the game, it was almost a, oh my god, they just scored. Oh my god, they just tied the game. Oh wait, they don't get those runs. Oh, it's a dead ball. So it's like that grudging like understanding of what's going on with the game, and it's like, oh, thank God, like how lucky did they get? And we haven't even gotten to how the game ended. Just that dead ball alone where they didn't score, because for that split second in the ninth, we were on a razor's edge of we almost just lost the World Series and
yeah,
they almost won. And it was, I didn't want to go into that dark place of like, okay, we're about to lose, because we still had two, I think there was no outs at that point. Like we had just hit, who was it? Alejandro Kirk with the pitch. He got hit by a pitch. He's on base. And then you've got the dead ball. So now Kirk's on third. You've got Barger on second. And then it's like, oh my God, we almost just lost the game right there. We got the
yeah.
dead ball. We're good. And then you bring in Glasnow.
Yeah, there were no outs. Now, regarding the dead ball, I love that Justin Dean is. It was funny because when the dead ball happened, my friends out in Chicago,
Put your hands up.
and
Put your hands up.
my friends out in Chicago immediately said that could turn out to be a huge play. The fact that he put his hands up and they called it a dead ball.
Well, and you saw
Now,
him turn back and look, and Kike already had his hands up. And then you saw like him throw his hands up, and they're just like, "Muh."
well, that's my thing, Amy. Is Justin Dean's going around, taking credit for that? I think it was Kike. I think Kike was yelling at him, "Do not touch that ball. Do
Oh, I
not
hadn't
touch
I
that."
hadn't heard him taking credit for it. Everything that I heard was that like you had Kike veteran presence like saying like dead ball, and Justin Dean's like, yeah, I know, like I've seen that before, but I hadn't seen him like taking credit for like.
And by taking credit, I mean when he's getting interviewed and he was like, "Well, I knew the rule. I knew the rule." And maybe that is true, but you saw that Kike was the first person to put his arms up. And while he was running over, I am convinced that Kike was telling Dean, "Don't touch it. Don't touch it." So for me, I think Kike was really the hero of that. Now, Dean may have known, but how many times go back to that Phillies game with Orion, where Orion knows all I have to do is throw the ball to first and the
Mhm.
inning is over. But for some reason, he decided there are times where you just make the wrong decision because you're caught up in the moment. So
Mhm.
I don't know this for a fact, but just watching the play, how quickly Kike put his hands up immediately, I just feel that Kike was telling Dean, don't touch it, dead ball,
I
dead ball,
I
dead
think
ball.
it all can be true, or we don't have to speculate on where Dean stood on it. I mean, he looked back. We don't know if he was looking back to make sure that the umpire was calling it a dead ball, like while he's running towards it in case it pops out. Like that's where like give him a little grace. Like I think like stellar move by Kike, throw your hands up. We don't know where Justin Dean was at on that. All we know is like that dead ball, like it was absolutely a pivotal moment because with no outs, you've got Tyler Glasnow coming in. His first pitch is a pop-up. Freddie takes care of that. And then it's still just like, oh my God, we're still on a razor's edge because they still have second and third, and we've got to get 2 outs. And I was talking to my best friend and I was like, oh, double play, double play. Just that hopeful, like, wouldn't it be great if we could get a double play right now and we're not out of the World Series? And then enter Kike and Miguel Rojas teaming together because I firmly believe that while Tommy Edman is a great second baseman, there are certain things that Miguel Rojas, just as the veteran that he is, can accomplish. Same thing with like the just the injury that Edmund's dealing with. Baez can clear more ground right now than Edmund can. It doesn't mean that they're better players than him. I just think that they have a little bit more leeway to move around. But that double play with Kike having the lights in his eyes, but still having the wherewithal to hear the cracked bat, kind of aim for where it's at, and then like still kind of throw over to Miggy and Miggy to hold on to it before he tips over, and they make that double play. Just like it's such a beautiful play. Like I have no words that I can even use to describe it.
I mean, that whole inning was just crazy. It was absolutely crazy. And I don't know what was crazier. And maybe I should have realized at that point that there was something going on here because this is just whether it's luck. It just seemed like there were just some crazy outside sort of forces
But this
involved
is
here.
where Mookie Betts says, like, when all this stuff happens, you fall to what you know, like you fall to the training. That is training. Kike can't even see the ball because the ball is in the lights, but he knows where to kind of reach and where to throw. Miguel Rojas taking those practices before each game in front of his legs, behind his legs, with the batting coach or the base coaches. They do all of this on purpose so that when those things happen, it's second nature, it's muscle memory, and we saw that play out.
To me, that one of the most not discussed enough, I think, moments of that play was the pick that Miguel Rojas made because that was an in between hop, and for him to catch it and stay on the bag, I think
Before he
was
tipped over.
yeah was super impressive to me. But again, I don't know what was crazier, whether it was the ball getting stuck in the wall or the fact that the next hitter was Eric Clement. Okay. Eric Clement, the guy
Ernie.
who I'm sorry, what?
Ernie Clement.
Ernie, I'm sorry.
Base running. Go back, go back.
Thank you for correcting me. The guy who holds the record now for most hits in a postseason swings at the first pitch from Tyler Glasnow, who comes in relief, and you get 1 out. Okay. So again, those two are crazy moments. Ball gets stuck in the wall. Ernie Clement swings at the first pitch and pops it up.
And we're still
And
on the
then
razor's edge of we could still lose because you still got second
exactly
and third.
second and third. Now there's 1 out. And then Jimenez hits a ball on like Glasnow only made 3 pitches to get out of this inning, ladies and gentlemen. Okay. Again, I don't know which one of these is crazier. The fact that Glasnow only made 3 pitches to get out of the inning, gets it out to Jimenez. And again, this is credit to Kike. Kike was playing shallow. And then he sits there and he says he heard the bat crack. And at that point, he came in, and for him to make it, and yes, he didn't make the greatest throw, but Miguel Rojas with that pick, Amy, I mean, everything had to go right for the Dodgers in that inning, and it did. And that's why I think to myself, those are like external forces. Something was going on there.
It
Now,
it's
was it just the
literally
force of game
baseball though.
seven? I don't know, but that was crazy to me. And on the street there in East LA, we were going nuts when the game ended. There were, I don't know where the hell these firecrackers came from, Amy, but there was one that was so freaking loud that all the car alarms started going off in the neighborhood, and I it felt like I was in the middle of a war zone. Other than the fact that everybody was so happy, cheering up and down. Again, this is where we're hugging each other and giving us high
Mhm.
fives, and we don't know each other. That whole
Your
inning to
baseball
me,
brethren at that point, it doesn't matter.
that whole inning was crazy to me. I mean, I just don't know what is crazier.
But so when I say, like, and I'm not trying to say this dismissively, when I say that's baseball, that encapsulates everything. It's the good, the bad, like, that's baseball. Like, you literally can't script it, which I was so stoked because that got said 5 million times in the aftermath of the World Series. And I was like, yes, thank you. It can't, like, it cannot, you could not have written up a script for even just those last three batters. There's no way. Dead ball, pop up, and then that double play. You've got Kike, like when the World Series is on the line, I was willing to get hit in the face because he lost the ball in the lights for a second. Like it just like this is the majesty of this game that I think makes it so great. And I'm listening to like kind of the wrap up and Oral Hershiser's on there. He's like, and the defense from these two, way to go, amigos. And I'm just like, oh gosh, this is just like we're all in awe and it's just amazing. And that's not even game seven. Like that's preceding game seven. We force it and it's just like, you know, buckle up, buttercup, because here we go.
And what's crazy is the Dodgers, for the most part, defensively, I don't think we're good in the World Series. But in game
They
6
were
and
making
7,
they were making some errors, but I think they made up for it too.
in game 6 and 7, it was their defense that helped them win the game. So now going into game 7, Amy, I'm feeling good. After witnessing what the hell happened in game 6, I'm like, there were, and here's a couple of reasons. I know you don't believe in the baseball gods, and I know some of you out there don't believe in them either. But here's what I'm thinking to myself, right? Game 7, I'm like, okay, after everything that happened in game 6, I think the Dodgers are going to be able to pull this off, but primarily also because
You
game
cracked the
7,
door open on hope again.
yeah, because game 7 was Fernando Valenzuela's birthday.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm thinking to myself, there's no way they can't lose. They can't lose on Fernando Valenzuela's birthday, right?
This is where I think you set yourself up for failure, though, with your
I know.
baseball
I do
gods.
it to myself. I do it to myself. I
But
deserve it. I get it, Amy. I do it to myself. So Shohei's going to start, and he's starting on short rest, 3 days rest.
yeah,
And we're going to talk. I think this is the time that we need to start talking about Dave Roberts. And in terms of what he did in game 7, where he seemed to have made all the right moves. I think every
it's
move that
almost
he made,
shocking that the guy who has gotten us to the postseason every year since he took over, you know, he gets a lot of criticism. But you said something earlier about like kind of breaking down what like John Schneider did, and I think this is where like that's the benefit of hindsight. And to me, I maybe this is where I look at it differently. Like, I don't care. Like, these guys are gonna make mistakes. Like, they're human. You make the decision in that split second and you got to live with it. And so like for the people who want to go back and analyze it to death, well, you could have done this. Like, great. How's that working out for you? Do you have your time machine where you can go back, give them that advice and then change the outcome of the game? That's not going to happen. So for the people who love to do that, that's great. If that gives you satisfaction. For me, I'm more like, all right, what happened? What do we do? Like, let's celebrate the good stuff and like learn from the other stuff. But I agree. Dave Roberts, I think, did a great job in this series and this year.
I think the only move that didn't work out for him in game 7, because every other move worked out for him, was allowing Shohei to go out there for the third inning.
I agree.
After seeing how he looked in those first 2
He
innings,
couldn't find the plate.
yeah, the way he was laboring, to me, the fact that he was able to get out of that second inning without giving up a run, I'm like, hey, chalk that up as a win.
It was like the
Uh,
Kershaw inning. You
yeah,
got him through the one, don't send him out for the second one, and in Shohei's case, the
exactly.
third.
Exactly, because I would not allow him to face the top of that Jays lineup again. I had a very bad feeling.
Well,
So
they made him pay.
exactly. So after Bichette hit that home run, my first thoughts were this, Amy. I can't believe they're gonna lose on Fernando Valenzuela's birthday. They're
You
gonna lose
already
the
went
world's.
to
Oh
losing?
yeah,
Oh my god,
because
Juan!
again, and I know it was only the first 3 innings, but again, the offense just looked like
It's not
it,
over till the last out.
I was like, oh man, the offense is just not showing up. Now, here is this that urgency that you were talking about.
Mhm.
And that's why I feel like that was the
I think I'm
only
more stressed out listening to your point of view than I was during the whole World Series.
no, like for me, that's the only blemish on Dave Roberts in Game 7. And that was because it started take again, this is me over analyzing, Amy.
Mhm.
It took me back to Game 7 of the 2017 World Series against the Astros when Darvish was getting lit up in that first inning, where I'm sitting there like, this is an elimination game. There has to be an extreme sense of urgency. If a guy doesn't have it, you have to pull him. And that's why I give credit to Schneider. The minute the Dodgers scored on Scherzer, and they were starting to hit Scherzer hard, they were making contact on Scherzer. He pulled them. He pulled them in the fourth inning. Like Schneider was not going to allow them to get hot, and that was the sense of urgency that I wish Roberts had shown earlier in that game by not letting Shohei go out there. Now, and I get it, but I think they had a plan, and this is the thing that sometimes frustrates me, and that is we ignore the eye test and we stick to the plan. It's like, well, if I can get 3 innings out of Shohei, and then if I can get 4 innings out of Glass, now I might be able to make it out. But how many times, and you say this all the time, it's like, okay, you make a plan. Good luck. You
Yeah.
know,
I think I agree with that, but I also think they were in like it's almost like the last game in the World Series last year. Like we had to go to Bueller not because we wanted to, but because we had no one left. By the time you've got Shohei in, he's pitching on 3 days rest, not because like, oh, it'd be cool if Shohei could go pitch in one more game. Like we had to use him, good or bad, he had to go out there. So I think I don't know if it's I wish he would have pulled him and not put him in the third, but I understood like, okay, but really who are you going to get? Because at this point, you are stretching all of your starters who have all pitched recently. Like Robo's carried quite a few innings himself, even not starting, but just being in relief. The entire list of pitchers that we have, Otani, Robleski, Glasnow, Sheehan, Snell, Yamamoto, they're all starters. Now, Robo and Sheehan have been kind of converted in relief for the most part in the World Series, but like these are all your starters. And you're hoping to get just some kind of length and some kind of pitching out of them because as we saw, Snell went out thinking he was gonna like turn the table in that second game he pitched in. That didn't happen. So for better or for worse, you got what you got, and you don't even know how long you can ride any of these guys. You hope you can get multiple innings out of Glasnow. What if he went out and he couldn't find the plate? Then what are you going to do? You can't keep bringing in Sasaki. I think we kind of tired him out. Like, what do you do?
well, the Doyers found a way to keep that game close. And they ended up using all 4 starters in that game because, as we talked about again, they clearly did not trust their bullpen. They did not want to go to their regular bullpen guys in that game.
Robleski did an inning and a third. Glasnow did 2 innings and a third. You've got Emmett Sheehan throwing 1 inning. Blake Snell came in and gave an inning and a third. And then you've got Yama, who literally just pitched the day before, who gave them 2 and 2/3 innings. And just like, I just wow.
Before we talk about the ending of Game 7, I do want to bring up Robleski. And in particular, that moment that the bench is clearing, I'm not going to say brawl, but the bench is clearing with
I was just
Robleski.
like, what are we doing? You guys, I literally turned to the people in the brewery and I was like, emotional.
I know this is not true, and I don't know this for a fact, but when it happened, after seeing that Jimenez stuck his hand out to try to
Mhm.
get, I mean, not even the ghost of Rudy Stein would do that. All right. I thought that was super Bush League. I thought that was super
Everybody was
Bush
saying
League
that
from
across social
Jimenez.
media. Like, you try to get hit one pitch, and then you get hit and you get all offended the next one. Like, what?
Well, I did think that Robleski did that on purpose after seeing what Jimenez did. And honestly, I didn't have a problem with it, Amy. I,
I was
I, I
hoping it
really
would
didn't.
fire him up, especially with
That's
all
where
the
I'm
time
going.
it took for the bullpen to jog out there and join them. I'm like, "Don't tire these guys out. We need them later."
That's where I'm going. I thought once the benches came out and after that moment that this was going to be Rocky 4. This was going to be either that or it's Rocky 3 when he goes up
All right,
to
you're gonna need
Clubber.
to tell the abbreviated version because 'cause we've got more show to get through.
Well, it's when Clubber Lang, when he go when Rocky stands up to Clubber Lang and says, "You ain't so bad. You ain't so bad. I took your punches." Or in Rocky 4, after Ivan Drago is destroying Stallone, and he's like he's made of iron. I keep hitting him, and he keeps coming. I thought this was the moment. Play the Rocky theme. Dun 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 dun. Like the Dodgers were going to get off the mat, and the offense was going to come alive, and they were going to come back, and they were going to win that game. Now it took a couple of innings, but Max Muncy hitting that huge home run and making it a one-run game,
Mhm.
and then Amy, who had Miguel Rojas hitting a home run in the ninth inning on their bingo card?
I did. Just he was under my free space hope category on my bingo card.
Miguel Rojas will be known now as a Dodger. It'll be revisionist history. He will be viewed as a hero, in my opinion, for two plays.
Wait, was he not going to be known as a Dodger before? Because he's one of my favorite players on the team. Like,
I don't know.
he's there for me.
I don't know if every Dodger fan will sit there and think of is going to mention Miguel Rojas as a Dodger great.
Hmm,
Uh, I
interesting. I
but
was stoked when I got his World Series ring and the mystery rings this year. He's who I wanted. That's how much I love him.
but I think he will be remembered in Dodgers history favorably for two plays. One, because he saved Clayton Kershaw's no hitter, and two, because he hit that home run in the ninth.
And can we just say that he almost didn't play in that game in game 7 because after the ending of game 6 and the celebration, he ended up aggravating his intercostal or his he had a rib injury
Right.
and he couldn't even lift his arm before game 7. When Dave Roberts messaged him in the morning, he was like, "Let me get to the stadium. We're going to have to see how this goes." And then fast forward to the top of the ninth and he hits the game tying home run. And it's just like, I don't know what you did. I don't know what massage you got, but thank goodness. Jobu was working in our favor.
And at that point, Amy, I threw my arms up in the air and just said, "This is insane. I
Could you
just
just
don't
give
believe."
yourself over to the joy?
I was. At that point,
Okay.
I was like, "This was insane." I just no longer. I didn't believe what I was seeing, and at that point, I didn't know what to expect.
Were you just
Now,
living in the moment?
I was until the bottom of the ninth, and
Oh,
then here's what happened. And again, there's a pattern that's been established on this show, ladies and gentlemen, and that is I overanalyze a lot of things. So in the bottom of the ninth, all I kept thinking, because they kept showing it throughout the whole game, and that was Joe Carter's walk-off home run in 1993. And of course, in my mind, well, it's poetic. It's been that long since the Blue Jays, the Azulejos, have won the World Series. Of course, they're going to win in a walk-off to win the World Series, and it's just going to suck. It's
and
just going to suck.
bottom of the ninth, they've got bases loaded. So before we even get to the Pajes Kike play, again, we're on that razor's edge of okay, we were able to get that home run from Miguel to tie it in the ninth, but we could potentially this could be it. We if they bring in any of these guys, and then you've got Pajes coming into the game. He knocks over Kike, which is like the famous retelling now. You've seen it on Jimmy Kimmel. You've seen him talking to Mookie Betts about it, where, he's getting posterized by Paez, and he's laying on the ground thinking that he didn't catch it, Paez didn't catch it, and we just lost the World Series, and Paez got it. And every time I have watched that clip, like, I don't even know, 50 times, but just watching like Paez like run, but then realize that Kike's still on the ground and go back and get him, I'm just like, oh, go get your
Well,
buddy.
but before that, the play that Miguel Rojas made with the throw to home.
Yes. Oh my gosh.
Okay.
Yes.
Now
Yes. Sorry,
that
I
was
fast forwarded.
that was inches. That was inches.
Mhm.
That should have won. That should have won the Blue Jays the World Series. That play should have won the Azulejos the World Series. Now, I didn't know this at the time, but if you go back and you look at the replay, Amy, that's when you notice that IKF was not. He didn't have a big lead. If
Mhm.
he would have
Justin
had,
Turner even got on social media to defend him because
yes,
there's a lot of people throwing some shade his way, and it's like, guys, stop over, and like, you didn't have to play in that moment. You leave him alone.
but I understand the explanation, and it was because of what happened the day before. The fact that they got
You don't
doubled
want to
up
get
at
doubled
second.
off.
They got doubled up in the second. Barger got doubled up, so they specifically told them to stay close to the bag to not get doubled up. But if he takes
George
his,
even got doubled off in the first inning.
yeah, if you end up like taking your normal lead, he scores and they win that game. And the thing that sucks is, I don't know if you heard this, he got death threats after that.
And this is the thing where, like, I'm not attacking you over analyzing. Do whatever you want. Overanalyze to your heart's content, but that's where it stops. Do not go and reach out to somebody else. Do not go be negative. Like, this is your PSA. Don't do that stuff to other people. You can't change the outcome. He did the best he could in that moment, and you don't know what was going on behind the scenes, whoever you are. Like, that to me, that is ugly, and it is unnecessary in this game.
Again, I go back to, it was a hell of a play by Miguel Rojas. He made a good throw. The fact that Will Smith his foot went off the plate and then landed right back in time, just seconds before IKF got there. Again, this is just one of those things that at that point, I was not believing anything that I was seeing, because I was like, this is insane. The drama that has been going on between these last two games, it's just too much. This is too much for the fans. And then after that, we have the catch. And again, Amy,
I'm not gonna lie, I ordered that shirt, so we'll see it on a future episode. I had to.
but again, this is where everything that Roberts was doing was working, because a couple of hitters before, he put, like, Bacchus came into that game in the middle of that inning.
He
If
came in the
Edmund,
bottom of the ninth. He didn't even hit.
if he, if Edmund is out there in center field, Edmund doesn't make that catch because of the issue with his ankle.
And
Okay.
Kike got a false start because he thought it was going to have a hop and he was going to play in closer. We don't know that Kike would have caught that ball. He
Kike
thinks
was
he
not
would have.
going to catch that ball.
He thinks he would have, and I hope in my heart of hearts, again, this is why I don't care about going back and speculating. I hope he would have. But in reality, Pages was the best person in that position, just like Miguel Rojas was, to throw it home to Will Smith and also be positioned at second base the night before for that double play. Everybody who needed to be in those spots was. And what I love about this team is, that there were no hard feelings. Tommy Edmonds not on the bench like, man, I should have been in there. That should have been my catch. That guy was happy because Pages was in there and he made that catch, and that they didn't lose in the bottom of the ninth.
Yeah, I think Kike was out of position. I know he was going to try to make a Willie Mays catch, but I just don't think that was going to work. But you know what I thought of immediately after Pages made that catch, Amy? That reminded me of Chris Taylor's catch in 2018 in Milwaukee.
The Brewers. Yeah. That slide towards the wall. Yeah. It like, this is the stuff though that, like, this is why I love baseball. Like, not just these beautiful moments, but all the little thing, like every little thing that got us here. Like, all of these moments add up to, like, just the theater that we're seeing. And so they get out of the bottom of the ninth, and then we're going into the 10th inning. And it's like, oh gosh, okay, nobody scores. Nobody scores. You've got Yamamoto in there pitching. And then we actually get into the 11th. I don't want to fast forward beyond past Will's home run because that was amazing. But he hits the home run. We go to the bottom of the 11th. I am so geared after all of these extra innings that as they had that final out in the bottom of the 11th, I was getting my scorecard ready to go move over to the 12th, and my friend's hugging me, and I'm hugging her. She's like, "No, you won." And as she's saying you won, I'm looking up at the TV and I saw the final score. And I'm like, "Oh my god, we won." I have been so conditioned that we are going to do so many extra innings. It took me 5 seconds to realize that when Mookie had that double play and Freddie got the ball at first, we were done. We won. I was ready to go into the 12th. Thank God I wasn't right.
Look, Will Smith getting the game-winning hit. Like, Will Smith has built himself a very nice postseason resume where
Mhm.
he is clearly now a clutch performer in the postseason. So
Mhm.
for him to hit that home run and smoke it, I will say this though, Amy, again, in that bottom of the 11th inning, when Kirk came up, when Capitan Kirk came up, I thought to myself, well, this is going to be poetic, right? Kirk's
Because
going to get the
you've got Guerrero on third.
right. I was like, Kirk's going to get the game-winning hit. The Doyers are going to get beat by a Mexican from Tijuana on Fernando Valenzuela's birthday. I
Wow.
was like,
God, you go so dark.
these are the
Oh,
thoughts. These are the thoughts that were run through my
we're
head.
gonna have to go to it's not couples therapy because obviously we're not a couple, but like we're gonna have to go to like partners therapy for this podcast.
So, and the thing is I really love El Capitan Kirk's approach. He goes opposite field, and I really like his approach as a hitter. So I was really scared. I was like, oh no, what is he gonna do? So then when he hits the ground ball to Mookie for the double play, I was like, oh my gosh, it's gonna happen because El Capitan Kirk does not run fast. And Mookie knew that. And that's why Mookie took it by himself and turned that double play. The Doyers end up winning the World Series on two of probably, I don't want to say the craziest games, Amy. I think they were the maybe some of the two most dramatic games in a World Series. And I know we are prisoners of the moment. So immediately the World Series ends, the Dodgers go back to back. Yamamoto is the World Series MVP, and I know we've talked about it. He pitches 3 times. He got 3 wins in the series, ladies and gentlemen. The Dodgers won 4 games, and Yamamoto won 3 of them. Right? Uh,
I was just gonna say he's the first pitcher ever to win 3 games on the road in a single World Series, and also the first to win Game 6 and Game 7 in a World Series on the road. Thank you, OptaStats.
yeah. So, but immediately when people said that was the best World Series that they've seen, I think it's too soon to make that call, Amy.
You can't. It's subjective to everybody. You like
But I think I mean, we're responding to the drama, right, of those 2 games
why can't
of
it be
6
true
and
for some people?
no, I know, and it's funny because I forgot who said this. They were a Cubs fan because that 2016 World Series was pretty dramatic too, because it was a Game 7, it had the rain delay, and the
Mhm.
Cachorros hadn't won the World Series in over 100 years, and they're playing the Indians, at that time, the Cleveland Indians, who hadn't won in, like, over 60 years or something like that, and so I think that one was pretty dramatic too, but damn, Amy, I just again, I really think when we look back, we are going to mainly be talking about the stuff that happened in game 6 and 7. I've heard people say they don't recall watching a World Series where there were this many plays at the plate. And I think that's what made this World Series so great was the
It
back
was
and
so close, and
yeah,
it could have gone either way so many different times.
oh, yeah, I think you could clearly make an argument that the Azulejos should have won that World Series in 5 games. And so when they sit there, when the guy from the Azulejos network, for those of you who aren't familiar, who made the comment that, that the best team did not win, here's my thoughts on this. I want to hear yours, Amie. There were times where it was clear that the Azulejos outplayed the Doyers in all aspects, all facets of the game. But I do believe that the reason why the Doyers ended up winning the World Series is because the moments that they needed to play the best, the Doyers did that, and the Azulejos didn't outplay them. And you use those examples in game 6 of getting doubled up when you clearly were in position to win the game. In game 7, Miguel Rojas making that throw. I get it that IKF had the short lead, but if Miguel Rojas pulls an Orion and throws the ball in the dugout or throws it in the stands,
but that's
right. The Doyers made the plays when it mattered most. So
that's what I hate, because you can't. It's revisionist history. It doesn't matter. That didn't happen.
But that's
not to you, but like that's why, like, for me, for that sports, the newscaster, the sportscaster, whoever he was, it doesn't matter. It's scoreboard. To me, you can analyze the thing to death. It's scoreboard. Who won?
Yeah, but it is. I get it. Again, they hit 203 in the series. How do you win?
They still won.
How do you win a series winning 203?
But
right?
A series is not they don't hand out the commissioner's trophy based on batting average. They do it based on runs. So like that's where, like, to me, that's like, this is all the extraneous details. Like, okay, who cares? Because they still scored enough runs to win. They made a lot of errors, but defensively they played when it counted, and they were able to defend their position. So at the end of the day, I don't think it takes anything away from the Blue Jays. They are an exceptional team. I am glad we played them in the World Series. Like, this was probably the most exciting World Series I've seen in a while. And last year's was good too, but this year it felt like we really had a contender, and we really had to fight for it, and it could have gone either way because both teams were so good and so evenly matched. But at the end of the day, it's whoever scored the most runs, because that's the metric we go off of. Doesn't matter what your batting average was. It doesn't matter how many pitchers you used, or how many, not substitutions, but how many times you had to bring other. It doesn't matter who scored the most runs and got the World Series trophy.
I will take the de-stress that I had from last year's World Series, but this World Series to me was much more exciting than last year's World Series. But in the end, it results in back-to-back World Series championships, something that I didn't think they could do. They absolutely pulled it off. They deserve it. It is very well earned.
They're the first team to ever trail in the 9th inning of a World Series Game 7 on the road and come back to win. Like like, I know we're gonna have more stuff to talk about, like people's opinions and things like that, especially as we like go into the rally and the celebration. There's all kinds of other stuff to be said. I know we were really focusing on just deconstructing the games, especially this team started in Tokyo and ended in Canada. They started playing earlier than any team, and they played the longest out of any of the teams out there, and like they still came out on top. And honestly, like, that just I could not be happier. This was a long season. It was an exhausting season, but man, what a great year.
Yeah, they pulled it off. They pulled it off, and it was just, it was as stressful as it was, Amie. It was really fun to watch. Is there anything else before we wrap things up?
No, I think we're gonna get into, like, I'm sure there's other things that we forgot, or like stuff that we can still tack on to next week's episode. So I've got like extra notes here but I think for the most part, I think we dug in pretty good.
Yes. So even though technically the baseball season is over, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to continue to do shows in the off season because we got awards coming up. Like I said, on our next episode,
Winter meetings.
we're gonna break down the World Series celebration, and by next week, because on Thursday, the time we are recording this, it is Wednesday. On Thursday, the Mookie podcast is gonna drop, where you have all the players' interviews, and we heard all the stuff that happened in last year's celebration, so everybody is really looking forward to see what they say on Mookie's show. So we'll be able to react on that on the next episode. So again, just because the baseball season's over doesn't mean that it's over for Baseball Shangri-La. If
We'll
for
have a
you,
more regular schedule now that the postseason isn't quite so up in the air.
Exactly. I noticed we got some new subscribers. So if you guys are new to the show, just know the shows are still going to keep on coming. So that's going to do it for this episode.
Whoa,
Yes.
wait. For anybody who's already going through withdrawals like I am, they just dropped the spring training schedule. So take a gander at that. I've already reserved my hotel for spring training. So guys, get on that because the prices are going to go up.
I did notice a lot of people were dropping the spring training schedule today. Wow.
Oh yeah, I've already got my games picked out.
You guys are really you're addicts. You guys are obsessed with this.
I'm gonna go rock in my corner after I get this all posted everywhere. Don't worry.
All right, well, that's going to do it for this episode. For those of you that have been listening to us on the audio portion of the show, please make sure you're subscribed to the podcast, rate us, write us a review, help spread the word about the show. If you're watching us on YouTube, make sure you're subscribed to our YouTube channel. Hit that notification button. Give us your thumbs up. Leave us your comments. We love engaging with you. And most importantly, make sure you're following us on social media, on X at BB Shangri-La, on Instagram, YouTube, and Bluesky at Baseball Shangri-La. She is Amie Cuevas, and I'm Juan Ramirez. Nos despedimos con un beso. Amie, say goodbye to the people.
Goodbye, people.